Hey, you crazy cats! 42's live streams and videos are simply not available on vinyl. You will have to go to the YouTubes for that. So if you want content about British traditions and culture, cutting edge social commentary from an unapologetically patriotic perspective, along with a side order of madness you simply will not find anywhere else, then this is the place for you. And to all those early adapters in the chat, don't forget to hit the notification bell. That's how you get the good stuff, and make sure you never miss a tasty treat. So with that being said and done, squeeze yourself in. Let's get into it. You know you want to. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. Please delete as applicable because the internet is worldwide. Time zones are still a thing. Can I get a wee audio check in the chat? And by fuck, I've actually managed to get the intro off and me on in one smooth, easy go with the new StreamYard. It's fucking amazing, people. We are shocked. Shocked, I tell you. This is not how we expected it. We expected the normal fuck up of me going off the screen and on the screen and all sorts. So this is a pleasant improvement. So we're all good. And with that, I'll say hello to the early adopters. Budgie Burgers in, as always, and likes the Sea Shanties. Very good. RP Rich, what about you, chum? Glad to have you on. Mr. Packer, what about you, chum? Packer had Danger on as a guest earlier. It was a very good stream, although I was mostly looking and sorting out stuff for tonight. Mr. Billy Blogs is in, who believes that whenever 5 minutes before the show starts, I put live show now. He believes that's false advertising and he's being stung out of 4 minutes. But I will say that not everybody is as quick on the fingers as Mr. Blogs. So I rest my case. The Vincent put my teeth back in. The real Vincent Griffin. What about you, chum? Glad to have you here. Billy Blogs. Ooh. Anglo-Saxon, evening, brothers. Just to let you know, my lights have all just dimmed. So if this cuts off suddenly, it's not me. It's not the computer. It's the whole fucking electric has went out in the area where I live, because everything just got turned down a little bit there, which is sometimes a sign that we're about to have a power cut. Normally lasts about 4 hours, but there you go. Pack is telling me the audio's good. Thank you very much. Budgie likes the cats. Larry of the Void, welcome aboard, chum. It's a Plastic African. What about you, chum? Really great chat with you last week, and thanks very much for coming back. I enjoyed that. Oh, fuck. Here, it's not me that needs a shilling. It's the substation that's pretty close to here. Newsflash. If you're in the United Kingdom, your electricity grid, all the infrastructure, the reason why it's having problems is it's all very fucking old and it's being held together on a shoestring, and sooner or later it's all going to go beep. But there you go. The wonderful sexy MG. What about you, chum? What about you, chum? What am I saying? The wonderful sexy MG. Good evening, my darling. That was better. Jaden is in. 0428. Brad's in. What about you, chum? And Garley's in. Bass is in. What about you, chum? Our Dutch friend. And Ludwig's in. And Garley's in from Canada. And couple of names I don't really recognize her. Welcome aboard. Please do feel free to hit the subscribe if you like this madness. Yeah. Yes, Emma, I did. I rectified it. Sexy ass to give you your proper title. Oh fuck, my teeth are all over the place. There we go. Sunk myself already. But there, what else could happen? Anne come over from Willie's. Thank you very much, Anne. That Willie's streams are quite good. Expect something slightly different from Willie's, but hopefully equally entertaining. And I'll tell you what will be familiar. Willie's chat and my chat are both very friendly. There's a lot of interconnectivity to you fit in here. So there you go. With that, I'm going to do a couple of shout outs. I'm going to take a wild guess that Ragnar Ironspear and Jack London will be streaming tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. I would also expect them to have a guest. I have no idea who their guest is this week. I know it was John Palmer last week, but I do not know this week. So there you go. There's that. Other show I want to give a shout out to. He's in the chat, so you can easily click this link if I can get back to work. Yep. RPW Media. Click this link and subscribe to this guy. He will keep you up to date with all that's going on in politics and general society. Not only does he do live streams, but he also has a whole media set up in the back. There's a website. There's all sorts of links and information. So you'll get that there. The other one I like to give a shout out to is Courage is Secure. A girl called Robin from Australia does a similar type of thing to what Rich does, only from an Australian perspective, which is good because you're getting news from the other hemisphere. Always good to have. And the other show I like to give a shout out to is the other show I like to give a shout out to every night at 8:30 every weeknight. There is Dave's Waffle Show. Dave's Waffle Show is the home of the Friday night duck race, the best duck race on the internet. There are many ways to get involved. You can win ducks in the comments. You can buy ducks. You can be gifted ducks, and it's just it's a duck fest. There's ducks all over the place. And every Friday night have a big race, and you win a prize, and that will be determined by the Wheel of Doom. And if this sounds the type of madness you like, get yourself to Dave's Waffle House. Okay, so there's that. There's all the shout outs done. And before we go too far and get into your content, as you know, what I like here is, yes, and there's Dave's Waffle House. If you are not already subscribed to Dave's Waffle House, really easy. Click that link, go to channel, press the subscribe. Yeah, and you will find, as similar with Willie's Desert Hangouts, with RPW Media as well, by the way. And here you will find a friendly chat where you will fit in, which is very important. Now, yes, before I get into tonight's subject, as you know, what I like here is history, culture, art, and poetry. And I've got a poem I'm going to read to you this evening before we kick tonight off. Where are we? I will present this. This poem is called The Ballad of England, which I read the other day and I thought you all needed to hear. The Ballad of England. I sing a sonnet of this land, impart the depths of legacy, cricket fields, Blackpool sands, or worn nubs of memory, white cliffs, nimbus ancient, weighed by souls of angles, our heritage, bound in sediment, is real blood and historic mythos. I rhyme a right of our country, intone collective recollections, of old, the roots and our family, together without invasions. Rolling hills, rivers, our very nature, towns, pubs, lawns, country gardens, a Magna Carta of a great culture. Never permit how it fades or hardens. I hum the hymns of our divine nation, of God given home of birth, this soil. Sprouts oak, free, branching passions. Acorns root our people through toil. Our spirits are linked and tied right here. There are no spur English to try again. There is no spur England to try again. Take not from our land, are we clear? We'll weather the storm, clean from the rain. I bellow the ballad of England loud. Fair hope this realm doth ours doth stay. With strength we make ourselves proud. We'll save England, there's no other way. And I'm going to put the link for that in the chat. And if you're in this chat and you don't subscribe to that to pick stuff up like that, you're mad in the head, because it's your type of stuff and it's not that common. And Brad James, fucking excellent work, man. Excellent. I love that. And one thing that you will have probably figured out by now is, see, if I don't like a poem, I just say fuck all about it, because I don't blow smoke up people's arses. And whenever it comes to poetry or anything writing or creative or whatnot, if you don't get an answer from me, it's because I probably don't think you're going to like my opinion. But that is fucking ace. Renegade Rave Archives. I know I have the body but of a weak, feeble woman, but I have the heart and stomach of a king, and a king of England too. And to think foul scorn that Parma or Spain or any prince of Europe. Very nice quote. And with that, we're about to get into the Spanish Armada. But first, I'm going to have a quick musical interlude. This is a marching song from the Roundheads in the English Civil War. It's very good. I firmly advise you all to get familiar with this song and figure out what side you were on in this war and what was won and what was lost. Oh.
March, army of saints, marching good order where Calvert in battle. March, punch into Parliament, hold your faith fast in the height of the battle. Scourges the heresy, Pope his foeman, rough man at arms, in God's name to fight. Puritan statesmen and level yeomen, sustain ye by service, by righteousness armor. March, bless ragamuffin, sing as ye go, the hymns of rejoicing. March, justify the ruffians, chosen of heaven to glory your rising. Humble, implacable, strong in your faith, marching invincible into God's grace. Red-coated trumpets, you new model come, with the fire of the right to bring England to order. March, army of saints, onward with sound to the push of the tide. Now, march, march, host of the righteous, the triumph for martyrdom, so tis your right. Now, rustic philosophers, calm theologian, mind-questing pamphleteers to the ranks come. City apprentice and Anglian yokel unite with intention, Gomorrah to leather. March, march, sharp-sworded midwives of God's new millennium, born in its glory. March, march, Christ-starved nations of Persians and Hills and an end to our glory. Marching in ranks to the gospel, come on, marching for Commonwealth, God and the land. Red-coated prophets, you new models come, with the fire of the right to bring England to water.
There we go. A nice little bit of patriotic Englishness. And here we go. We're going to start. What the hell's going on here? Can't find what's playing. Someone's playing music and I can't find it. Fuck. That was bad. Sorry about that. I had a bit of a computer issue there. Someone started playing music and I couldn't find what it was to shut it off. But now we've got there and we are going to begin talking about the Spanish Armada. And Dawn, evening, lovely. Glad to have you here. Panicking there, whatever you were to say, because I keep on getting this wrong. Now, we'll start off with the Spanish Armada, and this is going to be coming from the Encyclopedia Britannica. And we'll see what they say about the whole matter. Excellent. Glad you didn't hear it, but fuck me, it's hard. It's hard for me to concentrate whenever there's music playing. Oh, fuck, it's on my head in. Right. Share screen, and we'll get the Spanish Armada up according to the Encyclopedia Britannica. I want to change that to that. There we go. Good. That's a good size and everything. So here we go. The Spanish Armada, the great fleet sent by King Philip II of Spain in 1588. You'll hear me say that we have issues in Britain, large-scale issues, approximately every 100 years. Anybody care to tell me what happened in 1688? Because it was kind of big. But anyway, so 1588 to invade England in conjunction with the Spanish army from Flanders. And Flanders is in France, not Spain, which we should all know from World War II, and Flanders fails. England's attempt to repel this fleet involved the first naval battles to be fought entirely with heavy guns, and the failure of Spain's enterprise saved England and the Netherlands from possible absorption into the Spanish Empire. And why would England and Holland, or the Netherlands as we're calling it there, which comprises a couple of countries, why would they be on England's side? I'm going to check the comments. Yeah, Stavanger tried to remain neutral, but eventually said it was pretty much right. Philip had long been contemplating an attempt to restore the Roman Catholic faith to England. The English piracies against the Spanish trade and possessions offered him further provocation. There's something else that happened just before the Armada, which probably tipped the scales more than that, and we will come to that. The Treaty of Norwich in 1585, by which England undertook to support the Dutch rebels against Spanish rule, along with the damning raids by Sir Francis Drake against Spanish commerce in the Caribbean in 1585-1586, finally convinced Philip that the direct invasion of England was necessary. At this time, there was going on sea wars between different trading companies, and that's what was going on with Sir Francis Drake and the Spanish. Also, by occupying Spanish ships elsewhere, it made the Armada easier to defend against. He decided to use 30,000 troops belonging to the veteran army of the Spanish regent of the Netherlands, the Duke of Parma, as a main invasion force to send from Spain sufficient naval strength to defeat or deter the English fleet and clear the Straits of Dover for Parma's army to cross from Flanders over to southeastern England. And we have another similarity, because just as in World War II, the Battle of the Skies over southern England was important for our superiority to prevent a German naval invasion. At this stage, it was ships out there trying to stop a naval invasion, and now we send boats out to help the invasion. We're not going in the right direction, people. After nearly 2 years preparation and prolonged delays, the Armada sailed from Lisbon in May of 1588 under the command of the Duke of Medina Sabina, a replacement for Spain's most distinguished admiral. Right, so they had downgraded who was running this shindig. The Marquis de Santa Cruz, who had died in February. Oh, well, they probably have to get a replacement whenever the fucker's dead. Medina Sabina was an experienced administrator who proved to be resolute and capable in action, but he had relatively little sea experience. Right, so he was a landlubber put in charge of a naval task, and that rarely goes well, because whenever you have a problem on land, there's generally more help at hand than there is whenever you're in a ship. The Spanish fleet consisted of about 130 ships with about 8,000 seamen and possibly as many as 19,000 soldiers. About 40 of these ships were line of battle ships, the rest being mostly transporters and light craft. The Spaniards were conscious that even their best ships were slower than those of the English and less well armed with heavy guns, but they counted on being able to force boarding actions if the English offered battle. Right, so their tactic was, we're just going to get past the guns and go and try to take over your ship hand to hand. Daring tactic, let's see if it works. After which the superiority of the Spanish infantry would prove decisive. The English fleet was under the command of Charles Howard of the second Baron Howard of Effingham. He was no more experienced an admiral than Mendelssohn, but he was a more effective leader. His second in command was Sir Francis Drake. The English fleet at one time or another included nearly 200 ships, but during most of the subsequent fighting in the English Channel, it numbered less than 100 ships. And at its largest, it was about the same size as the Spanish fleet. So it was a pretty fair fight. And it's going to come down to seamanship and battle tactics. John Palmer may be able to tell us something about that, but I think his boats were beneath the waves. No more than 40 or so were warships of the first rank, but the English ships were unencumbered by transports, and even their smallest vessels were fast and well armed for their size. Because if you're going to bring an invading army along with you, you're going to have extra men, extra weight, extra equipment, even horses probably, weighing these ships down, whereas the English ships were battle ready and ready for only battle. The English placed great reliance on artillery. Their ships carried few soldiers, but had many more and heavier guns than the Spanish ships. With these guns mounted on faster and handier ships, they planned to stand off and bombard the Spanish ships at a long range. Sounds like a tactic. Let's see if it'll work. Gales forced the Armada back to the port of Acuna in northern Spain for refitting, and it finally got underway again in July. The Armada was first sighted off by the English off Lizard Point in Cornwall on July 29th or 19th, depending on which calendar you're on. The larger part of the English fleet was then at Plymouth, dead to leeward, but by a neat manoeuvre, it was able to get to the windward or upwind side of the enemy, right? Because these are sailing ships which don't have engines, and it's going to take you where the tide and the wind wants you to go, whether you want to go that direction or not. And if the enemy's upwind of you, you've got a problem. I.e., the west of the Armada, given the prevailing west winds, and hence gained the tactical initiative. In 3 encounters off Plymouth on July 31st, off Portland Bill on August 2nd, and off the Isle of Wight on August 4th, the English harassed the Spanish fleet at long range and easily avoided all attempts to bring them to close action, but were unable to inflict serious damage on the Spanish formation. So we're sparring like boxers at the minute, and I'm going to take a check at the comments. Jamie gets sent by North Korea for some. Never in the field of naval conflict. Oh, sorry. Sorry, John. I knew you were Navy. Something had me thinking you were the submarine guy, but no. Yeah, so you would be up to speed with the tactics here and what's going on. Sorry, just checking. There's Edmondson. What about you, chum? Right. Okay. We're all good. Where was I? Yes, we were here. The Armada reached the Strait of Dover on August the 6th and anchored in an exposed position off Calais in France. The English also anchored still to windward west of the Armada and were reinforced by a squadron that had been guarding the narrow seas. The first certain news of the Armada's advance reached Parma in Flanders the same day, and he at once began embarking his troops in their invasion craft. But the process required 6 days, and the Armada had no safe port in which to wait for him, nor any means of escorting his small craft across the coastal shallows where the Dutch and English warships cruised to intercept them. This deficit in the Spanish strategy was to prove disastrous. Yeah, because see if you want to board all your soldiers in the lightly armored small boats and take them across the channel, you maybe want to have somebody to make sure they don't get their shit kicked in on the way, because they can't do their thing on those waves. It ain't going to work. At midnight on August the 7th, 8th of July, the English launched 8 fire ships. The English launched 8 fire ships before the wind and tide into the Spanish fleet, forcing the Spanish ships to cut or slip their cables, thus losing their anchors. Right, so they were anchored up, ready to go for a week's snooze for the night, and all of a sudden they've got fucking fire ships sailing, unmanned ships full of fire, just sailing in them, and they've got to get out of the road and stand out to sea to avoid catching fire. The Spanish ship's formation was thus completely broken. At dawn on the 8th, the English attacked the disorganized Spanish ships off Gravelines, and a decisive battle ensued. The English ships, now close to effective range, and were answered largely with small arms. The Spanish ships' heavy guns were not mounted, nor were the Spanish gunners trained to reload in action. Right, so where they had cannons, they weren't set up, and the people didn't know how to work them. So that's not going to go too well. Maybe something you should think about before setting to sea. I think John Palmer will have something to say about that, and naval training and whatnot. I'm pretty sure his ships knew how to fire whatever armory they had. Or was it? They sustained serious damage and casualties without being able to reply effectively. 3 Spanish ships were sunk or driven ashore, and others were badly battered. At the same time, the English were obliged by shortage of ammunition to break off the action and follow at a distance. Well, that's the other thing. Bring all the ammunition you need, and then bring some more, and then bring some more. Ammunition is definitely something you want to be looking at instead of 4. Ask anybody who was at Rorke's Drift. By the morning of August the 9th, July 20th, July 30th, I don't know what the fuck's going on with these dates. The prevailing westerly winds were driving the Spaniards towards the shoals of the Sealand Banks. At the last minute, however, the wind shifted and allowed them to shape a safe course to the northward. Both the west wind and the English fleet now prevented the Armada from rejoining Parma, and it was forced to make the passage back to Spain around the northern tip of Scotland. Right, so they've had to come up and right round the outside. The English fleet turned back in search of supplies when the Armada passed the Firth of Forth, and there was no further fighting. But the long voyage home through the autumn gales of the North Atlantic proved fatal to many of the Spanish ships. All right, yeah. So now now Neptune's getting a go at them. Good. Whether through battle damage, bad weather, shortage of food and water, or navigational error, some ships floundered in the open sea, while others were driven into the west coast of Ireland and wrecked. But the only thing the west coast of Ireland was good for. Only 60 ships are known to have reached Spain, many of them too badly damaged to be repaired, and perhaps 15,000 men perished. The English lost several hundred, perhaps several thousand men to the seas, but sustained negligible damage and casualties in action. So this, what does all this mean? What was the outcome? The defeat of the Armada saved England from invasion and the Dutch Republic from extinction, because not the plan from the Armada and from Spain and France was to come over to England, take over the throne, and put back a Catholic dictatorship, and Also, they were going to do likewise in Holland, and this is where we get Huguenots coming over. While dealing a heavy blow to the prestige of the great European power of the age, tactically, one second, I need to cough. All right. Tactically, the Armada action has an enduring historical significance as the first major naval gun battle under sail, and as a moment from which, over 2.5 centuries of the gun-armed sailing warship dominated the seas. That's all of that from a Britannica. I'm going to drop that out. Nah. Let's go back to that. We're back on the screen and everything. We're good. And with that, I think we're going to have a little musical interlude, and it's going to be a sea shanty. And I think we'll have... Yeah, we'll have Lever Johnny Lever. One second, just get past the second advertisement, please. Here we go. Musical interlude. One sea shanty coming right up.
I thought I heard the old man say, "Leave her, Johnny, leave her. Tomorrow ye will get your pay, and it's time for us to leave her. Leave her, Johnny, leave her. Oh, leave her, Johnny, leave her. For the voyage is long and the winds don't blow, and it's time for us to leave her. Oh, the wind was foul and the sea ran high. Leave her, Johnny, leave her. She shipped it green and none went by, and it's time for us to leave her. Leave her, Johnny, leave her. Oh, leave her, Johnny, leave her. For the voyage is long and the winds don't blow, and it's time for us to leave her. I hate to sail on this rotten tub. Leave her, Johnny, leave her. No grog allowed and rotten grub, and it's time for us to leave her. Leave her, Johnny, leave her. Oh, leave her, Johnny, leave her. For the voyage is long and the winds don't blow, and it's time for us to leave her. We swear by our oath for want of more. Leave her, Johnny, leave her. But now we're through, so we'll go on shore, and it's time for us to leave her. Leave her, Johnny, leave her. Oh, leave her, Johnny, leave her. For the voyage is long and the winds don't blow, and it's time for us to leave her.
Right. There we go. Am I back on the screen? I am. Yeah. History Bro is good. Another person, if you want a better a better form of military history than me, and better presented and all that, and much better research from somebody who actually went to university and studied history. The history chap is very good. I recommend him. But to be totally honest with you, my hope for anything I do is that people end up with a better idea of the oral history of the United Kingdom and individually England, Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland, and Ireland, and where things fit in order and how one thing carried on from another. We have a real problem with history in this country in that we teach very exact bits of very exact events and we don't correlate it and show how it all fits together. And that's why we misunderstand their history, because it's not. John Palmer, thank you so much for saying that. We need to understand our history as an oral history, as a story that continues from the tribes, from the likes of Boudica, that fought the Romans, and then the Saxons and the Angles and the Jutes and the tribes banding together and fighting the Normans, and coming through that, going through the Reformation, coming together as a people, the Industrial Revolution, changing the world irrevocably for the better, and the glorious deliverance, and through to what we are today. I hope that I help people get that the only difference between the English people of today, the patriotic English people of today, because I can guarantee you what side of all these wars the current patriots descended from. The only difference between them and the Saxons and the tribes, the fought the Romans and the Normans, is generations. That's it. Yep. I'm starting to get the grips of a lot more of the European stuff now, boss. To be totally honest with you, when I started doing, I have learned so much doing this channel, because every week I research some bit of history or tradition, and this is exactly it, Packer. This did not start in 1996. It didn't even start in 1896. We have been a long way. Yeah, John. Another thing, because I have been talking about my own personal development this year, and I spoke a lot about trying to do the natural year and preparing for Christmas, having a proper Christmas, and start setting out with New Year's resolutions, and then going through. Yep, it did. I would say this all started in 1066. To be totally honest with you, that's my opinion on that. But I've been going through quite a lot of development, and I'm reorganizing my life for the better. I'm a jail testified a lot, and whenever I get a proper schedule for 42, doing everything he needs to do, work, feeding himself and all that, and get that on a proper regular schedule that's reliable, I will be hoping to make more and different content and standalone videos and stuff. But that's for the future. What I will say is, I'm a lot more organized and I'm doing better than I was in January and February, and so we're on the mend. We're going in the right direction. It's been fucking hard. Yeah. Anglo, I don't think enough people get that. Oh, while we're on that subject, would people be interested in a film watch along stream? Now, obviously, I cannot play a fucking feature film on my channel. So what I was potentially thinking about doing is I put a link for the film in the chat, and then you watch it on your own, but you can all comment here. And the film that I want to do it with, I don't know if it would happen if with any more, but the film I want to do it with is 1066 Battle for Middle Earth. I'm going to play the very opening of it. It is very historically accurate. I'm going to share the first couple of minutes. Present. Because it's rare that you get a film that is historically accurate. This is more like a documentary than it is a film, to be honest with you.
Many long years ago, a great tumult came to the world of men. The kings of Middle-earth fell into battle. Great warriors of the English, the Vikings, and the Norman were cut down, not just in the fields beyond Hastings, but in 3 almighty battles. And our land, England, would never be the same again.
What do you reckon, people? Just fancy doing a watch along with that, where sometime where I put that link in, you can all watch it independently, but comment here. Or alternatively, I could say, here is the link. Find this film and watch it at your leisure. Yeah, one in the chat if you like that idea. It was not a brother war, boss. It was not. They are not our brothers. Right. We're going to do this. It will not be a Saturday night. I'll figure out a separate time where we can do this as a standalone thing. As much as anything else, I want you all to see this film to get a proper idea of the history, because it is fucking. It's stuff that we've all heard of the Battle of Hastings, but we haven't heard too much about. It is indeed. Right, now I'm going to stop at share screen. And what was I going to move on to now? Yeah, but what race? Waiting at the race, chum. Right, and we are definitely not all in it together. And believing that we are, particularly if you're Dutch. If you're Dutch, you should really know we're not all in this together. Yep. Yep. Get some. Yeah, we will do this at some stage. That's a plan. Now, back to tonight's content. Elizabeth I and the Spanish Armada coming up on the screen. And take that back to that. So, in December of 1587, Queen Elizabeth I put Lord Howard of Effingham in charge of England's defence against the Spanish Armada. Although not a celebrated sailor like Sir Francis Drake, Effingham was an able commander and had the support of the nobility. He was also known for his willingness to listen to those more experienced, such as Drake, who was appointed his vice admiral. Howard's appointment was key, as his aristocratic lineage gave him the authority to keep the huge egos under him, such as Drake, in check. The English fleet was mobilised, and intelligence continued to be gathered about the timing and route of the attack, as well as the numbers of ships and troops involved. During this time, Elizabeth I continued to negotiate with the Duke of Parma about a solution to the situation in the Netherlands. On the 19th of July, 1588, the Spanish Armada was sighted off the Lizard in Cornwall. A fast English ship conveyed news, and a series of beacons were lit along the coast to spread the warning. Again, we talk about this a lot on this channel. We have many cultural and historical uses for bonfires. A as a sign of warning whenever they're unexpected, and B as a sign of celebration whenever they are expected, on events such as the 11th of July in Northern Ireland or Guy Fawkes Night in England. Interestingly, there are still bonfires lit in Ireland down south. It turns out that around about the time of Guy Fawkes Night, and it turns out that they liked the bonfires, but they pretended that they were for something else, and there was a long history of Guy Fawkes bonfires in Ireland going back in time. But there you go. The English fleet based near Plymouth attempted to disrupt the Armada's passage and managed to inflict some damage, but it could not stop it. The Armada anchored off Cowes on 27 July 1588. The Duke of Parma's army had not yet arrived to join them, so the English fleet used this advantage, sending their 8 fire ships on the night of 20th of July. Although no Spanish ships caught fire, the attack made the Spaniards panic, cut their anchor cables, and scatter out to sea to avoid them. The day of fierce fighting between the two fleets followed, later called the Battle of Galvanes. During the battle, the Spanish were blown dangerously close to the shore. Then the winds changed, and they sailed northward in the disorder. On the 31st of July, 1588, the Spanish fleet tried to turn around to join Parma and his army again. However, the prevailing southwest winds prevented him from doing so. The decision was made to give up and return to Spain by sailing north around Scotland. Howard and his fleet pursued them into the North Sea. Oh, the link for the film. Sorry, I did say I was going to put it in. There's the link to that film, 1066, Battle for Middle Earth. It is very historically accurate. I encourage anyone to read that. It's handy I went back to this. I did on mute. Fuck, I'm getting better at this. On the 13th of July, 1508, the Spanish fleet tried to turn around to join Parma and his army again. However, the prevailing southwest winds prevented them from doing so. The decision was made to give up and return to Spain by sailing north around Scotland. Howard and his fleet pursued them to the North Sea for 3 days until it became clear they were leaving. Bad storms completed the Spanish defeat. Many of the fleeing Spanish ships were wrecked off the coast of Scotland and Ireland. Less than half of the fleet made it back. The Armada portrait commemorates the most famous conflict of Elizabeth I's reign, the failed invasion of England in the Spanish Armada in the summer of 1588. This iconic portrait is now back on public display in the Queen's House after careful conservation. One other fact that we are missing from all of this hasn't come up and should have. The year before the Armada was launched, actually, we will get the list of the kings and queens up, I think, to illustrate this point. Uh, 14. Right, here we go. StreamYard to set the time that the time span that all this is taken in, and give you an proper understanding of where all this fits into history. This is probably the easiest way to do it. This happened in 1588, in the middle of Elizabeth I's reign. So she had been on the throne for 58, 68, 78, 30 years. But Elizabeth was the daughter of Henry VIII and Anne Boleyn. Elizabeth was a remarkable woman who noted for her learning and wisdom. From first to last, she was popular with the people and had a genius for the selection of capable advisors. Drake, Riley, Hawthorne, Cecil, Essex, and many more of the English respected and feared. The Spanish Armada was decisively defeated in 1588, and the reign's first Virginia colony was founded. She also brought back Protestantism to the country. Now, her predecessor, Bloody Mary. Why was she called Bloody Mary? Because every Friday during her reign, she would drink wine, eat chicken, and watch a Protestant being burnt at the stake. Now, while Elizabeth had been on the throne for quite a while, whenever the Armada came over, Bloody Mary had remained alive, but as a prisoner. And the year before the Armada arrived, she was executed. And while Bloody Mary was still alive, there was still the thought and the hope that a bunch of people would come over, take over the country, and put Bloody Mary back on the crown. And whenever she was executed, that no longer became viable, and they decided to go and have a go at taking over the place anyway, by military conquest. And where else this comes? Prior to Bloody Mary was Edward VI and then Henry VIII. So Henry VIII brought in the Reformation, segregated the people into those who liked Britain and those who didn't, distinguished by which church they went to on a Sunday. Edward followed his lead, sort of. Bloody Mary came in and became Catholic. She upended everything and started burning people at the stake. and then Elizabeth come in. So that's where we are in the history of in its place in history. I'll take that out and I'll go back to StreamYards. Did I fucking present that? Yeah. That's why it's fucking an orange. Right. Now, what else did I have to talk to you about tonight? And how long have we gone? We've gone an hour and one. Right. We're going to have a musical interlude. We're going to do the first one of mine. So I want to see that this is working. And we're going to try the Anglo-Saxon. And hopefully I can get to the toilet during this. We will see. Hello, you're listening to 42's letter to the Anglo-Saxons. When you spread this message, you are the resistance. The Anglo-Saxon. The Anglo-Saxon shook his head sharply, his hair dislodging droplets of sweat from the back of his neck, the produce of moving a carcass to the workbench. The sharpened blades and cleavers felt natural in his hand. The carcass divided to his will. The Anglo-Saxon's muscle memory was that of a warrior. His body was lost to the toil, but his mind wandered to memories that were not his own. An intruder startled the Anglo-Saxon. However, before him was not the meadows and glades of his ancestors, but a butcher's shop window. While politely serving the customer, the Anglo-Saxon mourned the loss of a kingdom he had never known, of the rituals and customs that were lost long before his grandparents were even born. Outside, the street was a bustle. He knew there were others like him, ones who carried the warrior's pride. Amongst them he would find the rightful place of an Anglo-Saxon. The Anglo-Saxon.
It was not preached to the crowd, it was not taught by the state. No man spoke it aloud when the Anglo-Saxons began to hate. It was not suddenly bred, it will not swiftly abate. Through the chill years ahead, when the time shall count from the date that the Anglo-Saxons began to hate. When time shall count from the date the Anglo-Saxons began to hate.
Game over.
And remove. And put me back in. We're actually getting this thing to work. It's all good. Woo! Thank you, Anglo. Sheila's in. Evening, Sheila. Spanish chicken. Jumped in. I think. If there's anybody I haven't said hello to, I'm sorry. I think I've got everybody. I do. And now, do you know what nobody ever expects? The English Armada. We all know all about the Spanish. Well, we've all grew up hearing about the Spanish Armada, but we very rarely hear about the English Armada. In fact, I only heard about it last week. And so I thought we will do a little bit on the English Armada. Be advised, at some stage I will probably go back on this if I can find a chunk more information. But at the minute it was very scant pickings. So we've got what we've got. At least, if nothing else, it'll show me where to look for more information on this. But here we go. The story that nobody expects, the English Armada. Oh, lemon drizzle. I have rediscovered my love of chocolate biscuits and a cup of coffee and a chocolate biscuit. That's the wrong one I wanted. I wanted this. The story of the Spanish Armada is one etched into national memory. Taught in classrooms up and down the country for decades, everyone has a basic level of familiarity of how the plucky English underdogs bested the huge Spanish Armada in 1588. The disastrous English Armada, the counterattack in 1589, which utterly failed, is a comparatively unknown tale. And I have a feeling whenever I start to pick into more and more and more of this, I might find it wasn't just quite as bad, but it possibly is. We shall see. The English Armada was first ordered in the immediate wake of the Spanish Armada. The majority of the 35 ships that the Spanish Armada lost in the year before were the smaller armed merchantmen. The galleons, the large modern battleships of the time, had returned to Spain requiring urgent repairs before they could put out to sea again. Due to the size of the Spanish Armada, the galleons that had survived had been split across various ports in the north of Spain, with most of the galleons in the port of Santander's for repair. The counterattack. I wonder is that Santander the bank? I don't think so. I don't know. The counterattack had two further objectives. The second was to land in Portugal and begin a rebellion. Portugal had been a long-standing ally of England, but after the death of Henry I of Portugal in 1580, Philip II of Spain took the Portuguese throne. Henry I was a cardinal, so had not sired any children. All right, so if your leader, if your king is also a religious man, they're not going to have children. Therefore, that line is going to die. Maybe not a good idea. The only possible heir, Antonio, was only distantly related to Henry, and was noted to be uncharismatic, so was not accepted as king by the Portuguese clergy or nobility. And this is a really important thing, is credibility. Who accepts you? Of all the times that Spain, France, anywhere has, and indeed the Normans, the reason why the Norman invasion was successful was the next week all the clergy accepted William as the king. Had they not done so, the people might have revolted. Although, to be fair, they would probably say at that stage that they had attempted to not do so, and resistance would have to change to be something less obvious. Queen Elizabeth supported Antonio's claim to the throne as a means of preserving the alliance with Portugal and preventing England's enemy, Philip II of Spain, from controlling the Portuguese Empire. The English Armada was tasked with seizing Lisbon, which was hoped would encourage nobles loyal to Antonio to rise up in revolt. The final Sorry about that. I had the cough. Right. Yeah, we're not muted. The final objective was to seize the Azores, where Antonio, the English-friendly claimant to the throne, was currently running his government in exile. Furthermore, it was hoped that the Azores could serve as an English naval base to attack Spanish treasure fleets returning from the Americas, because you've got a lot of booty going back and forward, and if you can steal that in the open seas and the boats, you're on a winner. But you need somewhere to go back to. You need somewhere that you can protect your loot whenever you bring it back to. So this port was then important. The combined English and Dutch fleet that set sail in 1589 was 126 ships strong, including 6 royal galleons. In addition to the sailors manning the ships, there were over 18,000 soldiers to execute the sieges of Corunna and Lisbon. Right from the beginning, the Armada suffered setbacks. They decided not to attack Santander, choosing instead Corunna, where there was only one Spanish galleon under repair. Corunna itself was fortified with 13th century walls and housed 1,500 veteran Spanish troops. Yeah, so it's armed and ready for a fight. After 14 days, the English had only managed to seize the port of Corunna and fled when the wind changed direction and the news of an incoming Spanish relief force arrived. The Armada lost 3 large ships and 1,500 men in the fighting, with a further 3,000 soldiers and 24 boats leaving the Armada. The situation degraded even further when the Armada reached Lisbon. The Portuguese refused to revolt in favour of Antonio, and Lisbon... Oh, here we go. Yeah, send a bunch of people over. They get a bunch of people in a different country to revolt. Similar to what America's doing and other countries with Victorian rule and whatnot, handing out donuts on the streets of European countries that are in revolt. Yeah, so they did that trick and they sent a bunch of people over to start a revolution. But the people there didn't go with them. They thought, nah, no, fuck you, we're not rising up. So that does not help. Maybe you want to make sure that's going to happen. Maybe there wasn't enough university graduates there to revolt at the time. And Lisbon was defended by 7,000 Spanish and Portuguese troops. With no siege artillery, there was no hope for the city to be seized. One of the English commanders, the Earl of Essex, still attempted a siege as supplies dwindled. Soldiers succumbed to the seas, and the ships were picked off by Spanish galleys. The Armada fled back to England. Over the course of the Armada, 40 English ships had been destroyed or captured, and around 1,500 English soldiers had died. None of the objectives were achieved, and the Spanish naval supremacy resumed the following year. I think we'll be hearing more of this story because I believe this to be one-sided. And I believe that England did rule the waves not long after that, not least because there's a fucking song about it. So, as I said, I don't know very much about this. That's what I've found out so far, and we'll see where the journey takes us in my search for the truth. So I'm just checking through the chat. Also seeing what time we're on. Right. I think what we're going to do now is have another But what we got to do is peel back a few layers and get fuller context. Yeah. We will say I'm going to do more digging. And I think we're going to have a little sea shanty. I need to close a couple of tabs here. And I'm going to look up a sea shanty. Yes, Daniel Maui, I think. Yes, that's the one we're going to have. But once we get past the share screen again. Oh, my way. Sure.
'Tis a damn tough life, full of toil and strife, we whalermen undergo. And we don't give a damn when the day is done, how hard the winds did blow. 'Cause we're homeward bound from the Arctic around, with a good ship taut and free. And we don't give a damn when we drink our rum with the girls of old Maui. Rolling down to old Maui, me boys, rolling down to old Maui. We're homeward bound from the Arctic around, rolling down to old Maui. Once more we sail with a northerly gale towards our island home. Our mainmast sprung, our whaling done, and we ain't got far to roam. 6 hellish months we passed away on the cold Kamchatka Sea. But now we're bound from the Arctic around, rolling down to old Maui. Rolling down to old Maui, me boys, rolling down to old Maui. We're homeward bound from the Arctic around, rolling down to old Maui. Once more we sail with a northerly gale to the ice and wind and rain. Them coconut fronts, them tropical lands we soon shall see again. Our stunsail's bones is carried away, what care we for that sound? A living gale is after us, thank God we're homeward bound. Rolling down to old Maui, me boys, rolling down to old Maui. We're homeward bound from the Arctic around, rolling down to old Maui. How soft the breeze through the island trees, now the ice is far astern. Them native maids, them tropical glades is awaiting our return. Even now their big brown eyes look out, hoping some fine day to see. Our baggy sails running for the gales, rolling down to old Maui. Rolling down to old Maui, me boys, rolling down to old Maui. We're homeward bound from the Arctic around, rolling down to old Maui. Rolling down to old Maui, me boys, rolling down to old Maui. We're homeward bound from the Arctic around, rolling down to old Maui.
Right. There we go. That was On My Way. And while we're on all of the nautical themes, let's have, and we've got a little bit of time, we have a spare bit of content about the Battle of Trafalgar. Not to be confused with the Spanish Armada, although it is boats and battles and all of that stuff. It was about 88 years earlier. So there's that. But we're going to see what the Encyclopedia Britannica has to say about the Battle of Trafalgar. And we will look out for any bits where they unexpectedly put something that looks patriotic or British in there, because they don't tend to do that a lot. I will point out everywhere that I think they fail, because that's what I do. I'm getting to enjoy doing that. And I want on that one. Right. The Battle of Trafalgar. Battle of Trafalgar was on October the 12th, 1805. So that's 80 odd years before the Spanish Armada. Was an engagement in the Napoleonic Wars, which established British naval supremacy for more than 100 years. It was fought west of Cape Trafalgar in Spain, between Cadiz and the Strait of Gibraltar. Right, so the Rock Gibraltar up there, you know roughly where that is. You have an idea of it. A fleet of 33 ships, 18 French and 15 Spanish, the same two fucking culprits. You may see a pattern beginning to emerge. We've got a bunch of ships with fuckers from France trying to take over our country. What happened to the Normans? At that time, aided and abetted by Vikings, and you've got them in the Spanish Armada, aided and abetted with the French, and 100 years before that, aided and abetted with the French. It's an old story. It's almost like they're not your brothers. It's almost like they don't like you. Some people would take a hint. A fleet of 33 ships, 18 French and 15 Spanish, under Admiral Pierre de Fillner, fought a British fleet of 20 ships under Admiral Horatio Nelson. At the end of September 1805, Fillner had received orders to leave Cadiz and land troops at Naples in support of the French campaign in southern Italy. On October 1920, his fleet slipped out of Cadiz, hoping to get to the Mediterranean Sea without giving battle. Nelson caught him off Cape Trafalgar on October the 21st. So we're in the winter. There's going to be rough seas. Fillner ordered his fleet to form a single line heading north, and Nelson ordered his fleet to form two squadrons and attack Fillner's line from the west at right angles. So basically, you'll understand that whenever you're driving along a road and a car pulls out of your side straight to tune it on and T-bones you, well, that's what these are trying to do, only with ships with fucking cannons. You gotta admire the swingers on them. By noon, the larger squadron, led by Admiral Cuthbert Collingwood in the Royal Sovereign, had engaged the rear south 16 ships of the French-Spanish line. At 11:50 a.m., Nelson in the Victory signalled his famous message: "England expects that every man will do his duty." Then his squadron, with 12 ships, attacked the van and centre of Fillner's line, which included Fillner and Boucherant. The majority of Nelson's squadron broke through the shattered Fillner's lines in a pell-mell battle. So they just charged up and fired everything at them, went clean through. Think about this. You're going to have Did any of you see the videos of the Mexican sailing ship, naval one that went into the bridge, and you've got all those people up in the rigging and they're getting knocked off? Well, this was like that, only it was cannonball slicing through your rigging and people getting peeled off, falling to the deck, all sorts of melee, powder smoke. You can hardly see anything but down below because the cannons are firing. Bang, 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 bang. Total madness. And then they go, just drive straight through. 6 of the leading French and Spanish ships under Admiral Pierre were ignored in the first attack, and about 3:30 p.m. were able to turn about and aid those behind. So they didn't get all the ships in the first pass, and the ones that were free from damage, they came back to attack. But Dominor's weak counterattack failed and was driven off. Collingwood completed the destruction of the rear, and the battle ended at about 5 p.m. Villeneuve himself was captured, and his fleet lost 19 or 20 ships, which were surrendered to the British, and 14,000 men, of whom half were prisoners of war. Nelson was mortally wounded by a sniper, but when he died at 4:30 p.m., he was certain of his complete victory. Nelson, despite being an admiral, presented himself on the flagship and the first ship that was going to sail through this barricade, and was a magnet for snipers on the quarterdeck, and he paid the ultimate price for that. However, his example, by being the most wanted person there and still going to his duty and even closer to the action than he really should have been, has a lot to do with why the English Navy actually felt that they could win this war. About 1 second, I need to cough. Where was I? Yeah. Sorry about that. About 1,500 British seamen were killed or wounded, but no British ships were lost. Trafalgar shattered forever Napoleon's plans to invade England. So again, this is 100 years prior, and yet again, we are fending off an invasion from France and Spain. There's more about the Napoleonic Wars. I don't think I'm going to go into all of that tonight. I'm going to take that out. I'll go back to StreamYard, see exactly where we are. We are on an hour and a half. And I'm going to play. Fuck. Oh, would help how to put myself back on the screen. There we go. What are we going to do now? What are we going to do now? I think I'm going to play some music. And what shall I play? What shall I play? I think we're going to play something funny. Babe Ruth. Poem time. Actually, Anglo, that's a good call. I'm going to play a little funny one. What is this? All right. I'll leave you up. Leave you off. Oh. There we go. There's, I've just found a link that I want to say. No, we've went through that, right? I'm going to find a little song, and we're going to have the devil went down to Jamaica. Right, we're going to have the devil went down to Jamaica. Then a little bit of a poem, which I will find while this clip is while this song is playing. We will see. What else would I get that on the screen? Go to that.
The devil went to Jamaica. He was looking to sell some weed. He was doing fine. They were standing in line. It was excellent weed indeed. When he came across this young man who was likewise peddling pot, and the devil slid down the beach to the kid and said, "Boy, let me tell you what. I guess you kind of figured I'm a reefer head, of course. And after all this time, I guess that I'm a connoisseur of sorts. Now, your stuff smells okay, but this could tranquilize a horse. I'll bet $1 million in cash against your stash because I think mine's better than yours." The boy said, "My name's Johnny, and you ain't smoked nothing yet. One hit of this grass will kick your ass. You got yourself a bet. Johnny, roll a ball of hash and make sure it's the bomb, because the devil's got the kind of stuff they smoked in Vietnam. You'll get $1 million smackaroos in cash if you can cope, but if you can't, the devil will get your dope." The devil packed a bong with a little Acapulco gold, and resin flew from his fingertips as he fired up his bowl. He filled that chamber all the way, and he took a mighty hit. As they passed it back and forth, it gave them both a coughing fit. Damn. When the bowl was finished, Johnny said, "Hey man, that stuff was great, but fill your lungs with some of this and prepare to vegetate. Cannabis sativa, sweet Mary Jane. The devil's in the backyard frying his brain. Zigzag filled with a diggity dank. Hold on tight, it'll hit you like a tank." The devil nodded off because he knew that he was stoned, and he asked if he could buy an ounce of the stuff that Johnny owned. Johnny said, "Devil, just come on back if you ever want to catch a buzz. I done told you once, you son of a bitch, mine's the best there ever was." And they fired up doobies one by one. Ain't it gonna stop till the bag is done. Green as a bullfrog, sticky as glue. Granny, do you get high? Yes, I do.
There we go. That was the Muppets. And now we're going to have a poem. And this... Oh, fuck. Yep. Put me back on the screen. Thank you. There we go. And now we're going to have a poem. And this one is called The Man of War. We'll get this up on the screen. Yes, and it is one of mine. 42 at all poetry. By the way, this handsome chappy here, that's our Pi's granda. You know our Pi, RPOW, a real piece of work. That's his grandfather, who served on the HMS Belfast. And this is a poem about the HMS Belfast, or the Royal Navy, of any journey. John Palmer, listen in. Let me take you on a journey from command deck to the to the keel, down through the nooks and crannies of this warship built from steel. Judge her strength not by her armour, but look behind each bulkhead door. They are at their battle stations, and they are the men of war. With the frigid depths beneath them, they sail out to meet the foe, standing alone together where lesser men would fear to go. Rookies look to the old hands who have seen it all immersed before in the never-ending process that creates the men of war. The ship may creak or shudder under bombardment or monsoon, but these men would never falter. From fear they are immune. Through Davy Jones's locker, thoughts of Davy Jones's locker may have been there from days of yore, but this is the Royal Navy, and they are the men of war. There you go. That's a little poem from me. Actually, you could really get quite a few more of these in the next 20 minutes. We will see. Yeah, if any of you want to find this poetry, I will show that link. And if you ever this poetry page of mine is semi-organized into lists and stuff. It's not fully up to date, but there is that. One of my latest creations. The finish line is a lie. And this is about the concept of personal development, and that you will, at some stage, reach a point where you are done. There is no finishing line. It's a lie. Every stride in the marathon brings you closer to your predetermined location. Marshals, medics, and medals will confirm your completion and the satisfaction that brings. In the struggle for freedom after years of abuse, a successful peace treaty with the gremlins in my head, or how that would be marked, was never defined. Perhaps it never will be. I never expected brass bands anyway, but I believe the pathway to the promised land requires a permission slip, one that you must write yourself, that permits yourself to enjoy the fruits of your labor. Permissions granted. For those of you who don't know, in 2012, I escaped a long-term abusive relationship, and I've been living independently from 2014. I've been with a G for quite a long time, and I finally got to the stage where I feel I should be allowed to enjoy myself. And I will also say that in my efforts to get to where I am, I've had more help than most. I know more about this subject than most people. I've had access to experts, and this is what a successful escape looks like. People will still be struggling for a very long time after, and trying to make sense of it. So there you go. There's that. I'm going to check the comments. I wouldn't use their publishing thing. I would just self-publish. Brad, if I was you, I would just fucking self-publish on Amazon, mate. Oh, Anglo. Interestingly, in that harmony, melody, and rhyme, whenever we're doing it, Al Mac says, give us a couple of examples of you answering the phone. And what I did was I answered them in the way that I would that I've done it many times whenever I was expecting a first phone call from someone that would contacted Men's Rights Northern Ireland for help with housing or family court or a difficult escape from a relationship. And one of the things that I would say is we will walk this journey together and welcome the resistance. That's where that came from. So it was totally organic, and it sounds like that. It sounds natural because I've said it very many fucking times. Although it did slightly fuck up whenever I said, "What about the Chum Diam Achievement Act?" That was really not good. I was still in I was in broadcaster mode. But thank you very much for that kind comment. I think we might do another one. If I go back to 42, what was the one I did before that? To fellow travelers. This is my advice to anyone else that's struggling. I think one day at a time. That is the mantra, right? The life raft in a discontent sea. That is also the wreckage, dragging us back to the life raft. Every time we strike out for distant horizons, we turn back to the turmoil of having only one desire, to make it through today, that tomorrow will somehow bear better fruits than yesterday's efforts at getting through the day, because real change is not possible in a day. 1 month at a time is my new mantra. So far, the experiment is resulting in hope. How long ago did I write that? 2nd of April. Yeah, this is me moving forward and becoming more organized in life. So there you go. There's that one. I'm going to take that out. I'm going to go back to StreamYard. I'm going to put me back on. Yes, I put me back on. Oh, thank you. And all right, I'm going to do another song. For those of you from Northern Ireland or wherever, or Britain, we lost a revolutionary recently this week, a guy called Andy Tarry, who was one of the founders of the Ulster Defence Association in the 1970s, and organised vigilantes to protect unionist communities when they were under very violent attack. I'm going to play a song for him now. Anybody from Ulster will know that this is not the appropriate song for a UDA member, and it should. And the Protestant Boys are a different band, but this is. I had a look for a song for him that I could play, and the one that I wanted I couldn't find on YouTube quickly enough, so I'm going with the Protestant Boys, and this is for Andy Tarry.
The Protestant boys are loyal and true, stout-hearted in battle and stout-handed too. The Protestant boys are true as of yore, and faithful and peaceful when danger is o'er.
And though they bear and proudly wear the colours that floated o'er many a fray, where cannons were flashing and sabres were clashing, the Protestant boys still carried the day.
When James Howe, the bigot and more of a knave, with masses and Frenchmen the land would enslave, the Protestant boys for liberty drew, and showed with the orange their banner of blue. And every will their might and tell who first in the ranks did the orange display. The pointed blue shires and often blue fires, the Protestant boys still carried the day. When treason was rampant and traitors were strong, the law was defied by a vile rebel throng. When thousands were banded the throne to cast down the Protestant rallies and stood by the crown. And oft in fight by day and night they conquered the rebels in many a fray. When red backs were bristling and bullets were whistling, the Protestant boys still carried the day. And still does the fame of their glory remain, unclouded by age and undimmed by a stain. Forever and ever their cause we'll uphold, the cause of the true and the trusted and bold. And scorn to yield or quit the field, while over our heads the old colours shall play, and traitors shall tremble whene'er we assemble, for Protestant boys will carry the day. The Protestant boys are loyal and true, though fashions have changed and the loyal are few. The Protestant boys are true to the last, though cowards belie them when danger is past. But still we stand a loyal band, and reck not the liars whatever they say. Just let the drums rattle, the summons to battle, the Protestant boys will carry the day.
This is the aircraft.
Right, hold on. We'll take that one out.
Previous.
Oh. Right, take that one out, and here we go. We'll put this one up. This could turn into a side splash very handy. Please be advised. I feel Bill My Gallows coming on.
Of Ulstermen marching through the green fields and streets. Hear the measured beat of Ulstermen marching through the green fields and streets of the towns, called up to arms by bold Edward Carson to stand for the red hand and crown. These were the seed of mighty Cuchulainn, these were the sons of Congal Clean, determined that Gael and Rome should not rule them, and England if need be withstand. Those were the days of Ulster's defiance, those were the days of passion and strife, those were the days when England denied us and Ulster stood for her life. The call came for war and the volunteers answered. The 36th was formed in 1914 to fight the German Kaiser instead of faithless England, to maintain their birthright and king. They marched into hell nearly 2 years onward, the first day of July on a bright and summer morn. Aloft against blue sky they bore the Ulster standard down the bloody road to the Somme. These were the men of Tyrone, Londonderry, Monaghan and Cavan, down and Donegal, the men of Armagh, of Antrim and Fermanagh, who walked the bloody road to the Somme. They faced the deadly hail from cannons and machine guns, through the bursting shells in hell of no man's land. Triumphantly they yelled the cry of no surrender, and fought the Kaiser's troops hand to hand. 3 miles they struck through enemy defences in the greatest charge of that European war. Like a mighty wave they swamped the German trenches, over fallen dead and barbed wire. Then they were cut off with no one to support them. They were mown down by fire from three sides. Bravely they fell like leaves in the autumn. Death reaped the bitter harvest of their lives. When the battle ceased, a young man was heard crying, bleeding from a wound where the bullet creased his head. There amid the maimed, the pleading and the dying, he held the broken body of his friend. As the red sun set, smoke drifted o'er the trenches. Dazed, bewildered men trudged back along the way. The carnage, it was great. The slaughter, it was senseless. 5,000 Ulster sons fell that day. Here was a time of mourning and of sorrow. All along the line they gathered up their dead. Here was a time of yearning for the morrow. Here was a time when Ulster bled. The land was filled with grief when news broke of the slaughter. Like heavy clouds, it hung o'er Cruithne's brow. The telegrams, they came to mothers, wives and daughters, and like warm falling rain, the tears poured down.
No.
We count the bloody cost they paid for Ulster's freedom. We cherish memories of those who died so young. With passing of the years, we will not forget them who walked a bloody road to the Somme. As long as earth revolves upon its axis turning, when day sleeps in the dark and wakens with the dawn, as long as sun goes down and rises in the morning, we will remember the Somme. We will remember the Somme. We will remember the Somme.
My grandfather was brought back from that route that they're singing about in that on a dead stretcher. There was a medic somehow figured out he was alive for some reason, and they got him brought around. He never really thought it was a brother war. Well, who's your brother? In what way are the Germans your brothers? What I will say is the reason why the Ulster Volunteers was formed was to fight the Irish or the English or anybody that was going to put us out of the United Kingdom. And the deal that was done for the Ulster Division going to joining up was the state of Northern Ireland. That's what those men were fighting for their country in a very real way. Although we were done because we lost fucking 3 counties. But that's where it came from. No. Who was somebody asked for the fields of Athenry? Spanish chicken. I tell you what I'll do. I'll give you a wee a cappella version. Nah, Spanish chicken asked for that, so you've only got him to blame. A little bit of a cappella, the fields of Balmafai. At a lonely orange hall, I heard a young maid calling, Billy, they have taken you away. Against the rebels in our town, you stood up, they shot you down. Now I must raise our child with dignity. Low lie the streets of Balmafai, where once I watched the orange bands go by, with their colours flying high on the 12th day of July. Now it's lonely on the streets of Balmafai. There you go. There's an Ulster Unionist version of that tune. yeah, boss, we do have different ideas that this is going to happen. Whenever you read all this history, I would love to know. Here's my problem with it being a brother war. At what point was Europe all one harmonious people that were not trying to take each other's lands and resources? Because I can't see where it is in history of anywhere where Europeans have all been of one. And in my humble opinion, I ain't seen anybody in charge of Britain that is not, well, we have in the last 10, 15 years, but up until then, I'm pretty sure that everybody that's been running this country has been white, and I don't think they've done a very good job of it, and I think that's because they don't like the British people. So I think that the issue is not white black. I think it is Britain against the rest of the world. Yeah. No, it's not what you expect. It's not what you expected. You expected that made up bullshit about McGregor's corn. I don't get that. There was an actual real starvation in Ireland, but it was about 100 years previous. Not the made up bullshit with yeah. I'm very aware of that, and I also think that the English have been fucking done. No, that does not count as a brother war, chum. Yeah. Oh, like without a doubt, there's good tunes. There's good tunes on both sides. I will always say that our tunes are better. They've got better lyrics and all of that. But to be totally honest, I was taking the piss about whenever I went with the Loyalist version of Feels the Often Right. It's not something I would ever play. Particularly not, or I'm not adverse to it. Like I don't like it. I don't like it at the rugby because that Ireland rugby team's supposed to represent both sides. But yeah, no, don't worry, it's all good. It's all good, chum. While I'm freestyling, what are we going to play out with? I think we're going to play out with. Yeah, we're going to play out with. We're coming down the road, I think. Hold on. Lisa from East Belfast. Lisa, East Belfast coming down the road. Here we go. This is going to be the outro tonight, and I'll play this, and I'll put all the comments up in the stream. And here we go. Oh, Bass, 100%, mate. I really like you. We get on, and it would be a really weird world if everybody had exactly all the same views and opinions, particularly whenever we both live in different countries. We'll have different childhoods, we'll have different experiences. It's all good, Bass, and you're very, very welcome here. And I do appreciate you coming here and enjoy our chats. So don't worry, we're not falling out over anything. Don't worry. You're one of the good guys. Right. Oh, yeah. Oh, also, watching a fucking potato plate decimate the rest of Europe for fucking 3 years and not deciding to change any of your planting habits, that's a really fucking smart way to get fucked over. There is so much myth around that great hunger. Fuck off. Irish people went to Scotland because their potato because of the potato plate. Do you know who also had a potato plate? Fucking Scotland. Right. Actually, we'll do harmony, melody, and rhyme after. I'm going to do we're turning the Sash Bash. We're going to have Lisa from Battalion doing We're Coming Down the Road. Put this on. Take me out.
An army to oppose. So off to France our boys were sent, and Carson he did say, go take our sons and tell the Huns that we are on our way. In 1912, and so Lord Carson he did raise an army to oppose. So off to France our boys were sent, and Carson he did say, go take our sons and tell the Huns that we are on our. Let's sing it. We're coming, we're coming down the road. We're the first battalion you need. To go, and those we got who were our friends now stand beside your foe. So take you heed, the price is high, and you will have to pay. So listen now, my words only are on. Let's hear you singing it. We're coming.
Yeah. Well, we'll take that one out. We'll stop that screen. We'll take that one out. We'll back to StreamYard. We'll present this, and we'll play another little bit of that same concert. StreamYard, and then I'm going to play the outro. Check us out. See, the really interesting thing about the diversity and everything, if you put a big fucking Union Jack up, all those other wankers don't turn up. It's great. You don't even need to tell them not to turn up. They just fucking do it. Right, okay. Right, now I'm going to play harmony, melody, and rhyme, and then I'm getting out of here. And I will put all your messages up on the screen. And here we go. Red. Harmony, melody, and rhyme. Perfect for this evening's show. Here we go.
Hello, this is 42 speaking. Welcome to the Resistance. You are not alone, and we shall walk this journey together. What about you, chum? If one brings a guitar and one brings a voice, then they stand together and make their own choice. Let us gather together those that can perform, and from the scarred timbers build our own platform. From that grand house they tried to burn down, there's gold in the ashes if you look around. Let us gather together those that can perform, then from those scarred timbers build our own platform. Build our own platform. We will sing words of wisdom. culture as we did once before, forced to stand by as our country was sold. Did you really think we'd leave that story untold? So one brings a guitar and one brings a voice, then they stand together and make their own choice. They have seen the future, the way forward is clear. Among us still stands a modern day Shakespeare. They have seen the future, the way forward is clear. Among us still stands a modern day Shakespeare. Forced to stand by as our country was sold. Did you really think we'd leave that story untold? We will sing words of wisdom. We will sing we will sing harmony, melody, pride. Harmony, melody, and pride. So one brings a guitar and one brings a voice, then they stand together and make their own choice. I have seen the future, the way forward is clear. Among us still stands a modern day Shakespeare. With power and wealth, you control the mainstream, but you never realized you could not kill a dream. So we will gather together those that can perform, and from the scarred timbers build our own platform. You're talking to 42. What about you, chum? If one brings a guitar and one brings a voice, then they stand together and make their own choice. We will sing words of wisdom, we will sing for all time. We will sing for our people, harmony, melody, and pride. We will sing words of wisdom, we will sing for all time. We will sing for our people with the ancient trilogy of harmony, melody, pride. We create a large society through family, god and tribe. The gods of water, air and land brought us through alive. The earth, the moon, the sun, each became a deity, independent parts of another trilogy. Is it a coincidence or is it just sublime that we now bring excellence in harmony, melody and pride? With power and wealth, you control the mainstream, but you never realized you could not kill a dream. You cannot kill a dream, and we shall walk this journey together.
Okay, everybody, that's it for tonight. The history has been history. I have been 42, and you lot in the chat have, as always, been fucking amazing. Thank you so much. This show, honestly, would not be the same without you. It means a lot to me that I've got 20-odd people sitting through this for a couple of hours. Thank you so much. And good night. God bless. See you all next week. I'm out of here. Goodbye.